Well, to get to understanding that moment of when I had a voice, you have to understand how silent I was, how voiceless I was. Most of all my arrests were for violent acts. I was on heroin, I stole, I burglarized. They hardly ever got me for any of that. What they got me was because I would rage. And I was in jail for a lot of violent acts, including attempted murder when I was 17. I was on murder's roll when I was 16. At the end, at 18, I was arrested for assaulting police officers. And I say it in quotes because there's a whole story behind that. In many ways, my fists, my violence was my voice. That's how I spoke. You know, I didn't have to say anything. I gave people dirty looks, and if they dared to take me on, I took them on. I learned again through the Chicano movement that there's other ways to go, to think, to raise issues, to be strategic, to have language. And one of the good things that helped me is that I'm probably the only homeboy that loved to read. I don't know anybody that loved to read. I love to read because, again, my original sensitive life was reading and being in my imagination. So reading was my saving grace. When I was homeless in the streets of downtown LA, that Central Library was my refuge. I spent hours there reading books. I think it might have been the Black Power books that came out in the 60s. I began to see that I could be a center of a story because Malcolm X's book came out and James Baldwin was writing and Aldrich Cleaver and George Jackson, all these revolutionary people coming out of the Black Panthers, all the movement people. I began to imagine it's a weird thing that maybe I could do a book, you know, because I was living such an intense life. If you read Perry Thomas's story and the ups and downs and the heroin and the crimes and everything he's been through, and I'm thinking, hey man, that's my story, you know? He's in Spanish Harlem and I'm in East LA, but it's my story. And so I think that gave me the seed. Why don't you do a story? And I actually first began writing in juvenile hall, and then I did it when I was in the murder's row at 16. When people were playing cards or maybe doing art or just talking, I started writing my first poems. That is the seed that grew into all my books, 16 books, and even having a bookstore and even having a publishing house, the Achucha Press. I knew that I could be the center of the story. I didn't have to be just a spectator to others. It has to do with the mutated male that I had to overcome. That, you know, machista, you know, power over others, dominance, that kind of male that was very big in the neighborhood. The problem is we don't know the big story. You know, we have a big longing that our lives were traumatized. I need my story told. Nobody knows my gifts. Well, okay, that's important. But the big longing, the big hunger is that all our people, their stories aren't told. We don't see them anywhere. And then they try to homogenize us. I don't have no problem with Latinidad up to a point, but one point is trying to homogenize every Latino as one thing. We're not. Everybody knows that. We come from different parts of Latin America. Some are more white, some are black, some are mixed, you know. And again, I don't use mestizo, but I know all that. Some are indigenous. And so I don't stand by the nation state necessarily, because if you're from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras, those are nation states created under certain particular conditions. But you got Mayans from Guatemala, Mexico that used to 10,000 years with the same people, and now they're divided by nation. We have to reimagine the world. And I say it's happening now because that's the clarion call you're getting from young people. And I really feel that that's the indigenous way of thinking. You need to save what's important, what's perennial, that's good, we keep. But we have to get rid of the stuff that has held us up under these illusions of power and dominance and race and class. We don't need to hang on to those anymore. Rather have a foundation of a house that we can build on that is the reimagined, profound, deeply welcoming, abundant place this country and this world should be.